Hello, everyone. My name is Diane Olivo-Posner, and I am the Principal Librarian Associate Director for the Exploration and Creativity Department of the Los Angeles Public Library. And I'm here to introduce today's Maker Talk. Thanks to our Library Foundation and our behind-the-scenes staff for helping us bring these programs to you virtually. First off, I would like to invite everyone to join our Winter Reading Challenge, which officially started on Monday, December 7th. But you can still join, there's still time. Go to lapl.org/winter to register, and also check out the Coding for Change Challenge, which is part of the Winter Reading Challenge. All ages and coding experience are welcome. Please visit lapl.org/NEISCI for more information. This challenge will conclude on January 9th, 2021, as will the Winter Reading Challenge. There's prizes, so I hope everyone joins. I hope you will also check out the library's online calendar at lapl.org. So many amazing offerings. In fact, tomorrow, Wednesday, December 23rd at 4 p.m., join us for Backyard Nature with a Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area Park Ranger. You'll learn about how nature and in your backyard and around Los Angeles is so important. And that we need to take care of nature. Now on to our Maker Talk. 10th grader Connor Lee and 8th grader Bauer Lee, they're brothers, are the founders of Cardboard Superheroes. They create life-sized cardboard superheroes such as Hulkbuster, Groot, C-3PO, and I think you're going to like one of the little things they've just created, as well as they teach people to build their own models. Their mission is to provide free alternatives for the arts that are fun for everyone. Feel free to also check out their website at www.cardboardsuperheroes.com. And we'll make sure we put this in the chat or on the screen so you can check out their website later. Now over to Connor and Bauer from Cardboard Superheroes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you so much for the introduction. So I'm Connor. I'm a 10th grader.
And I'm Bauer, and I'm an 8th grader.
So we are the founders of Cardboard Superheroes, which is a nonprofit that promotes the arts for the youth. And we build these awesome life-size cardboard models right here. These are cardboard superheroes. And we also build these miniature models right here. So here's Baby Yoda.
And we also have a baby Groot right here.
So as part of Cardboard Superheroes, we also teach people how to build their own models. So in our live workshops, we have, for example, this Thor Hammer that you can build. So this is a really fun one to make. As well as Captain America shields, and we also have a new Wonder Woman shield. So here's another one as well.
And so if you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and we'll answer all of them at the very end when we have Q&A. But for now, we're going to show you our Comic-Con panel just to show you guys what exactly we do.
So right now we're going to share our screen. Hi, I'm Connor Lee.
And I'm Bauer Lee.
And we're the founders of Cardboard Superheroes.
Welcome to our 2020 Comic-Con panel. In this video, we'll be talking about how we started Cardboard Superheroes and some of the lessons we learned.
And then we'll go into detail about how we built Hulkbuster from the beginning to now.
As we mentioned in our WonderCon video, we're super excited to reveal our completed Hulkbuster.
Well, half completed.
Okay, so unfortunately, we weren't able to fully complete Hulkbuster as there were a lot of setbacks, but we also just launched our new Comic-Con Museum workshop.
And we're going to tell you more about that later, but for now, we're going to tell you about our origin story.
One of the most common questions we get asked is, how did we start cardboard superheroes?
Well, it all started back in my toddler days.
Take 1,000.
I grew up in my mom's work, which was filled with cardboard boxes. To pass the time, I would create forts and castles, and even my very first life-size cardboard robot at the age of 6. Eventually, when my grandpa retired, he gave me all of his cardboard boxes. It was like Christmas came early.
And why does he need this many? I'm stuck. All these cardboard.
Using the cardboard boxes that my grandpa gave me, I made my second full-size cardboard robot, R2-D2. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was learning as I went along. Here is the original base. I built him because he was smaller, and I also really love Star Wars, as you can see from my shirt. The head was a more difficult piece to build because of all the curves, and I also had to research online the best way to make it. Building R2-D2 inspired me to start creating more superheroes. When I was younger, Iron Man was my favorite superhero, and I really wanted to build him. But since I was pretty new at building, I didn't realize the importance of creating an internal structure. I made each piece separately, starting with the chest. Unfortunately, because he was hollow and didn't have an internal structure, over time he has started to break down. Going from R2-D2 to Iron Man was a huge step up, and I had a lot of difficulty and was very frustrated at times. But once he was all completed, I was really proud of how he turned out and couldn't wait to build my next superhero. The next model I created was Wonder Woman because the movie had just recently come out. Also, because my mom had a mannequin lying around that she wasn't using, I decided to use this as an internal structure. This actually gave me the idea of how important and helpful it was to have an internal frame. Another cool part about her was that I started to incorporate different materials besides just cardboard to make her a lasso, shoes, and wrist guard. Sometimes it was a bit awkward to build Wonder Woman, but eventually she turned out great.
After growing up, watching my brother build cool cardboard superheroes, I really wanted to get into building as well. So the first two things I started with were the Stormbreaker and the Hulk Hammer because they were smaller and simpler. My brother gave me a lot of tips when I was building them, which helped me a lot. When I was creating the handle for Stormbreaker, which is a twisted piece of wood, I ended up using crumpled up paper wrapped around a pipe so that it looked like wood, but it was also very strong. We eventually used this technique of using crumpled paper when my brother and I built Groot together. I had so much fun building Stormbreaker and Hulk Hammer. In the end, the best part was being able to bother my brother. Bauer, smash!
Groot was the first project that my brother and I worked on together. We learned from our previous models and built an internal frame.
Unfortunately, we didn't build it strong enough because over time, it started to break down and we've had to repair him several times. Groot was fun because it was so different from the other models.
Because of his complicated wood texture, we ended up using crumpled up pieces of paper that we learned from building Stormbreaker's handle. We are cardboard superheroes.
Wall-E was my first full-size model that I built on my own. I didn't need to create an internal structure because Wall-E isn't a very large model. It was a very fun model to build, but the challenging part was the wheel and the tread. Around this time, we were starting to test out a laser cutter and ended up using this to create the treads, which came out really well, and it is definitely my favorite part of Wall-E. After building Wall-E, I wanted to take on a more challenging project. Aquaman had recently come out, and I thought Black Manta would be a great model to build. Because of some of the problems we had with the strength of Iron Man and Groot, I realized that I needed to make Black Manta's interior structure very strong and sturdy because I didn't want him to fall apart over time. Black Manta's head was so large and curved that it actually had to create its own internal structure. Because this model was very challenging compared to Wall-E and took me almost 9 months to complete, I was able to improve my building skills so much, which allowed my brother and I to eventually take on the challenge of building Hulkbuster together.
Because I had already made R2-D2, I knew I had to build C-3PO next. I started out by building a very strong internal structure as we learned from the previous models. One really cool feature of C-3PO was that I added real wires to the body. Another additional lesson I learned was that when I was transporting the models, it was very difficult to move full-scale models like Iron Man, Groot, and Black Manta. In order to make C-3PO easier to move without breaking, I made the arms removable and also came up with the ideas to use magnets so the arms could rotate. When I was finally finished with C-3PO, as you can tell, I was pretty happy.
My family and I all watched The Mandalorian together, and my brother and I knew we had to build Baby Yoda.
We decided to go with the foam base because he has a lot of curves, which makes him difficult to build. We ended up painting ping pong balls for his eyes.
This is definitely one of our favorite models, and now Baby Groot has a friend.
Last year, we held our first big workshop at the Comic-Con Museum for the December Nights event, and it was a ton of fun. And we're so thankful for everyone at the museum who gave us this opportunity.
We created cardboard templates using our laser cutter to make easy and fun kits so that people could build their own Thor Hammer and Wonder Woman gear. We actually ran out of templates after having over 600 visitors make their own models. We'll definitely be prepared next time with more.
We worked really hard for this event, and in the end, it was definitely worth it. We're hoping to hold another workshop at the Comic-Con Museum where we'll be providing kits for Captain America shield and Wonder Woman shields. Hope to see you all there. And that was the story of cardboard superheroes. And now we'll tell you more about our latest model.
And now we're going to reveal to you how we actually built some of our models.
We're going to show you how to build Hulkbuster because he's our largest and most difficult model, and we've combined everything we've learned into him.
So let's head over to the workroom to see how it all starts. Welcome to our makerspace, guys. We wanted to give you a little peek of where we build all of our models.
Sorry it's a little bit messy in here, but we've just been really working hard on Hulkbuster, and it's also the one room that we can keep messy, so we take advantage of it.
We wanted to give you guys a step-by-step process of how we go about building some of our models, and we're going to use Hulkbuster as the example.
So the first thing we do is print out a bunch of pictures, and this is so we know what each piece looks like.
We're asked this question a lot about how we size and proportion all of our models correctly. So we do that by starting with an image of the model, and then we basically take that measurement, and then we find out how tall we want to make them. And in this case, Hulkbuster is 8 feet. We really wanted to make them taller, but unfortunately our ceiling's 8 feet, so we couldn't go any higher than that. We then take those two measurements, we divide them to find a common ratio throughout everything, and that's how we get all of the correct sizes. And, who knew math could be so helpful?
The next step we do is build an internal frame, and we learned this from experience because our previous models like Iron Man don't have an internal frame, and they're all falling apart right now. So especially for Hulkbuster, we built one for him, and we made it extra sturdy so that it would support his heavy weight.
So last year at the Comic-Con Museum, we ran a workshop, and we had to transport all of our models there, so it was really important for us to make them portable.
And we made him into like a transformer of sorts. His shoulders can come off, his arms can come off. Also, his feet can come off, and his body, it can be separated from his legs. And finally, his head can come off.
We also made sure that Hulkbuster fits through a single door. Otherwise, he would have been stuck in our room.
We're really happy with how Hulkbuster turned out, but as you mentioned before, we made a few mistakes and had some setbacks, but we're still learning as we go along.
One of the setbacks we had was the hands. We actually miscalculated them, and they are a bit too small, so we'll show you right now. Yeah, they're little tiny hands. And so now we're in the process of rebuilding them.
Now we're going to tell you guys how we actually build Hulkbuster from the beginning, step by step.
For Hulkbuster, we started out building an internal frame. We learned from past models such as Iron Man and Groot that a strong frame is essential, and especially for Hulkbuster. Because he is so large and heavy, this was even more important.
To make the frame strong, we rolled up pieces of cardboard to make sturdy poles and taped or glued them together. We used this to build a frame into the shape of Hulkbuster's body. As we mentioned, we made sure the frame could be taken apart so he is portable.
Recently, we've actually had to go back and reinforce his frame because some of the cardboard poles and his arms actually started to bend. We used aluminum rods to do this. We also had to strengthen his legs so he would be stable and balanced when standing.
I generally like to build the head first. This is just a preference, but after the head is done, I feel like the model is really starting because this is the most recognizable piece. Similar to Black Manta, I built an internal structure for Hulkbuster's head. This created the basic shape of the head and made it easier to add on the detailed curved pieces to finalize the head. Rather than permanently attaching the head to the body of the frame, we attached a post to the head so it could slide into the body and be removed. This was the stage we were at when we had a workshop at the Comic-Con Museum for the December Nights event. We are excited to bring the finalized Hulkbuster back to the museum later. The next part of Hulkbuster we worked on was the chest. Because the chest is so large with many curved pieces that fit together like a puzzle, it was a very difficult section to build. I had to plan out each piece ahead of time so it would all come together and also fit correctly onto the frame. Similar to C-3PO and Wonder Woman, I wanted to add in different materials to make the model a bit more unique. I decided to use some wire for the chest plate and the knees, and I think it came out really well.
For the arms, we already had the basic shape from the internal frame that we built. We made the frames for the arm able to attach and detach from the main body. From here, I then added the surrounding cover and detailed designs, including some armor and weapons. The most difficult part of the arms was making sure the size and dimensions fit with the main body. I actually had to redo this a few times to make sure he looked right, as we just couldn't have Hulkbuster with puny arms. Also, as we mentioned before, we have to redo the hands. When we started making the hands, we based the size on the wrist we had built, which we didn't realize until later was way too small. Later, when we attached the hands and the arms to the body, we realized that they were again way too small. As a famous saying goes, measure twice, cut once. Well, we definitely learned our lesson.
Hulkbuster's legs were much harder to build than we originally thought, as there were so many pieces that had to fit together: the thighs, knees, shin, and feet. Also, because Hulkbuster comes apart, we had to make sure when we connected the body and leg pieces together, it had to look like one solid model versus separate pieces.
The legs had a lot of detailed features, especially the feet and thighs, and we had to build them twice, once for each leg. As we were building the legs, we had to strengthen the internal leg frame and also enlarge the base of the feet so Hulkbuster would balance and not fall over. We had this issue with many of our other models, such as Groot, Iron Man, and Black Manta. We're happy to say Hulkbuster stands on his own without any outside support.
This was the last major section of the model, and it was really exciting as we got closer to finishing to be able to see him finally come together.
We've been working really hard these last few weeks to try and finish Hulkbuster in time for Comic-Con. We're really happy that we were able to build most of him. Unfortunately, as we showed you before, we weren't able to finish his back. Also, we realized that we needed to rebuild his hands, which are very detailed and take a lot of time. We'll be continuing to work on this, and hopefully we'll be completely finished, front and back, when we come back to the Comic-Con Museum for our next event.
We hope you enjoyed learning more about how we build our models and some of the lessons we learned along the way.
If you want to get started building some of your own models, we just launched a free online workshop with the Comic-Con Museum, so you can go check it out.
We'll teach you how to build Wall-E, Thor's Hammer, Captain America Shield, R2-D2, and more.
Hey guys, so I'm going to be teaching you how to create your very own Wall-E.
And I'm going to teach you how to make a Thor Hammer.
Because this week we're building the Star Trek Starship Enterprise. So for today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build your very own miniature R2-D2.
Thank you for watching, and we're hoping to be back at the Comic-Con Museum for an in-person workshop where we're going to teach you how to build a Wonder Woman shield, Captain America shield,
and a Thor Hammer. If you guys have any suggestions on our next build, go to our Instagram or our website. And
see ya! All right, so hope you enjoyed our Comic-Con panel video.
And so now we're going to talk more about the new school curriculum that we'll be launching with the Comic-Con Museum. And so before we go into that, we want to give you some background. So like we mentioned in our Comic-Con panel video, how we held the summer workshop that was 10 weeks long, which is actually still available on the Comic-Con Museum YouTube channel. If any of you guys want to check that out, that'd be awesome. We taught people how to build their own mini models, and we're going to show some of the mini models right now. So this was the first mini model that was launched with the school curriculum. It's a little Wall-E right here. And so this is one of the easiest models of the school curriculum. And the reason why I chose to put this in is because, well, Wall-E was one of my favorite childhood movies. And if you look in the background, I actually built a full-scale model of him. And so this is the reason I put him into the school curriculum, or into the summer workshop. Sorry about that.
So another model was the Thor's Hammer. So here's Thor's Hammer. So this is another simple model that we made, and this was really fun. And so you get to learn how to like roll cardboard and just piece it together to create like a 3D shape, especially for this head. So here is the Thor's Hammer. Really fun.
And another model we have is, for any Star Wars fans out there, we created an R2-D2. And so this is one of my personal favorites. And one of the cool parts about him is the head. As you can tell, these are all stacks of cardboard, all stacked together to create kind of that dome effect. And so this is one of my favorite models to build. And in this one, you get to learn how to stack up cardboard to create this curved shape.
Another model is the Batmobile. And this is one of my personal favorites. It's super cool. And this is a harder model, but you get to learn how to make a lot of curved pieces and just piece it all together to create this entire car.
And then another one from Star Wars is the X-Wing fighter. So this one is really cool. In this one, you get to learn how to roll up cardboard to create these thrusters in the back, as you can see here, 4 thrusters right there. This one is a bit more challenging than the other models, but it's in the end, as you can see, it turned out pretty cool. And so if you guys want to go check that out, that'd be awesome.
And then here is also the Captain America shield. And so this one is another one of my favorites, and it's super simple to make, but it teaches you a lot of valuable lessons. For example, how to like curve cardboard and create this dome effect, which is really cool.
And then another one is from Star Trek, that Starship Enterprise. This one right here. This one you get to learn also to roll up cardboard to create these thrusters in the back. And this is a really cool one. It's like a little spaceship you can build.
And then we have the bat signal. And so we actually made it so that you can rotate it. And this was also cool because Batman was recently inducted into the Comic-Con Museum Character Hall of Fame. So this was for that event.
And so along with these models, we also gave templates as well as instruction videos so that people would have an easier time to build these models. And this is actually what inspired us to create the school curriculum that we're going to talk about.
So we'll actually show you some of these templates. So here's an example of the template that you guys can use. So you'll cut this out and then piece together your Thor Hammer. So this is a Thor Hammer template. And then so this is how you can build each of the models. So we were inspired to do the summer course because of COVID, and we wanted to give everyone an opportunity to pursue the arts, and we wanted to promote the arts and have people build their favorite superheroes and comics and games. And so this actually leads perfectly into a new project we were working on. This is in partnership with the Comic-Con Museum, and it's a project that we've been working on for months now, and so we're really excited to see it launched. And so it's called the Pop Culture STEAM Curriculum, and so we'll give you a teaser trailer for it right now.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Pop Culture Arts Curriculum, and today I'll be teaching you guys how to create your very own miniature Wally.
I'm Connor, the co-founder of Cardboard Superheroes, which is a nonprofit that promotes the arts in youth. Please make sure to give us a follow on our Instagram and check out our website.
Cardboard Superheroes has been so lucky to partner with the Comic-Con Museum to bring you this curriculum, and so make sure to give them a follow as well.
For any educators that are watching and would like to see the free teacher's guide with a framework overview, learning objectives, and much more, please contact us at education@cardboardsuperheroes.com.
Without further ado, let's get started. You guys enjoyed that little teaser trailer, and it's actually going to be coming out and launching to the public really soon. It's going to be launching in the 2021 school year, which is right around the corner. So we're really excited about it. And so now we're going to show you a few of the models from the school curriculum that we're going to be launching. So this one right here, this is one of the simpler models. It's a Minecraft Ghast. And so this is a very simple model to build, and it's one of the first models. And so we want to make the models like progressively get harder and harder as we go along. And so this was very simple. As you can tell, it's all just straight, like his body's just a box and everything's just flat pieces. And eventually you can start increasing your level of building and eventually take on a more challenging project. And actually the reason why I picked this model to put into the school curriculum is because a lot of the students and kids that we were asking, they really wanted new game models to be in. And so this is one of the game models that we added. And also Minecraft is just such a fun game that I love. And so this is a really cool model to put in.
So another simple model is based off of like the feedback we got was this Batman Frisbee. And so we found out a lot of kids love Batman, the superhero. So we created this Batman Frisbee for them to make. And this teaches you the basic skills on like learning how to getting used to cutting out of cardboard and also using like a hot glue gun to piece everything together. So here is this model right here.
And then another one of the games, which is really popular, I'm sure all of you have heard of it. It's called Fortnite. So we created a Fortnight Chest for students to build. And again, this is because a lot of the students wanted to see more game type models. And so what I really like about this model is, as you can see each of the individual wood slats, which really brings out the texture of it. And also I created hinges on the back to make it more realistic looking. Even though you can't actually open this chest up, it makes it look really cool. So this is the Fortnite chest right here.
So the next model that we have is the Wakandan Shield. So this is actually Captain America's Wakandan Shield. And you can see this in like Black Panther and also like Infinity War and Endgame. So this is another one of my personal favorites, and based off of like a lot of people were asking us to make this one and teach them. So here's the Wakandan Shield, and has a lot of details on it, which I love, and it's curved. So this again also teaches you the basic techniques to build, and not just out of cardboard, but of other materials. And we also teach you like the engineering design process along the way.
And then another model is, again, this is WALL-E. This was also a repeat from the summer curriculum, but instead, if I can show you, if you want to compare, what's different about it is that for this one, which is the school curriculum one, we added treads. And so this makes the model look, one, it's a lot cooler looking, but it also is a lot easier to build. And the reason is because during the summer workshop that we ran, a lot of those models were a lot more difficult, but these, we wanted to make them simpler because they're for students from like 4th to 8th grade. And so we simplified these one a lot more. And so here's the miniature WALL-E.
Another model that was in popular demand was Aang's glider from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So we got a lot of people asking for this one. So we also made this, and this is one of the more simpler models to make, and I'd say takes around a little, maybe like an hour to make, so it's really fun. And here it is.
And then another one was the Pac-Man right here. We have the ghost from Pac-Man, and we also created a Miss Pac-Man for people to create. And so the reason why we chose these 3 models is because the Comic-Con Museum actually very recently, they inducted Pac-Man into their Character Hall of Fame, which is really exciting. And so this is why we put this one into the school curriculum right here. And what's cool is this comes with 3 models. So so 1 and 3, which is really cool.
And then so we also have some repeat models, which is like this Thor's Hammer right here. And so what we did is actually simplify them. So as you can tell, the handle is different. So this one is made out of stacked cardboard instead. And this one's just a circular piece. So the reason why we did this is so that you can also learn new techniques, which is like stacking up cardboard and creating like this like pyramid, but also making it more cylindrical. And we also show that with like R2-D2's head.
And then another one from Minecraft is the Minecraft Steve character right here. And so this one's a fairly simple model to build because he's mostly just made out of these like cube shapes. And also he also holds like a little like sword and also a shield, which is really cool because now he kind of looks like a warrior. And then also he wasn't able to stand on his own at the beginning, which is why I added this circular base at the bottom. This way he's able to stand up all on his own, and you can kind of just like put this on your desk as a little decoration.
And then another model that we have again is Captain America Shield. This was like the most popular one. So we had to add it back into the curriculum. And so here is the Captain America Shield. And also we also want to show you 2 models we forgot to share. And this is part of the summer course.
Yes, this is part of the summer course. We totally forgot to mention these. So this one is the Fortnight Llama. And you know, I love Fortnite, my brother does too. And so we knew we had to incorporate some kind of Fortnite character. And so we thought that this, which is called the Loot Llama, was such a good idea. And another cool part is that this saddle right here is kind of like an accessory. So you can take it on and off. And another one of my favorite parts about it is, as you can see, the fur. It's supposed to be like confetti fur, but it looks a lot cooler because it makes the llama texture really come to life.
And so that was the hardest model, and this is also one of the another hardest. This is for any Star Wars fans out there. We have the AT-AT, And so this is another favorite one. And you get to learn like how to make 3D shapes. And so for example, this body piece and this head piece, as well as like the legs, you get to, it's really cool because it's really detailed and has all these intricate pieces to it. And so this is another really fun one that you can make. All right, so now, so that's part of the tutorial courses where we will be posting templates and tutorial videos for everyone to take part in. But we also have something that's new, is a teacher's guide. So here is the teacher's guide right here. And so the teacher's guide includes, like, we included some standards and for teachers and to make, and also student worksheets for people to enjoy. So here's the teacher's guide. We also include like safety tips and also a supplies list with links to where you can get the supplies. We tried to make the course have like supplies that most people have like readily available at their homes, but we also included links just in case. And there's a lesson plan, and then there's also a framework overview that teaches what this whole course is about. So this is another thing that we have for everyone.
And then going back to the summer course, so if any of you guys want to check that out, it's really cool because all of the materials that you need should be readily available at your house, just like scissors and cardboard and tape and things like that. So if any of you guys want to check that out, that's awesome. And so for this summer course, we've actually reached a few schools. We haven't fully publicized this yet, but we have reached a few schools almost as like a trial run, and we held a workshop for both, which was really cool.
And so also another thing is, here's our lesson plan. So each model gets progressively harder. So you start out from the easier one and slowly build the harder ones. And so this is actually, you get to learn like the engineering design process, and you'll be able to, in the end, build your own model. So it's super exciting. And then you'll be able to hopefully build your own like cardboard superheroes.
And so if any of you guys actually know any teachers that might be interested in adopting this curriculum, you can tell them to email us at education@cardboardsuperheroes.com, and we can get started with them, and that'd be great. And so now we're going to end it off with Q&A. I see there's a lot of questions in the chat, and so we'll be answering some of those. So one person said, can we see tutorials on your website on how you made them? And so all of the tutorials will be on the Comic-Con Museum YouTube channel, or you can go to their website. But also we have it on our website as well, which is www.cardboardsuperheroes.com. And so you can check it out on either one of those.
And then so another question is, what kind of glue or fasteners do we use? So we actually use hot glue guns. And so these are perfect. You can get them on Amazon. And so we use hot glue guns to make all the models. They're perfect and they're easy to use. And so we use that.
That's like the main thing that we use. But sometimes when we build like the internal structures of our models, sometimes we use duct tape because that's really strong. And the internal structure is supposed to be like the strongest part of the character. Another question says, is everything made from cardboard or paper? And so pretty much everything here is made from cardboard, but as you can see, like on C-3PO, they have some wires on it, and sometimes we add different materials onto it. But sometimes when we were like a lot younger, like when I was much younger and my brother was too, we actually started off with paper because it was much easier to cut and to create things out of that.
So if you guys want to go ahead and start building, I suggest like using paper as your first piece is perfect to get introduced to building. So is Hulkbuster finished now, or are you still working on him? So we're actually still working on him. And as you can see, I'm not sure if you can tell, but the hands are still not finished.
And also, as you can see, some of his arms are actually starting to come apart. And so he's kind of in a bad shape right now. I mean, we didn't glue some of the pieces on strong enough, and some of them are coming off. But we're on the process of rebuilding him. And so one of the biggest mistakes we made was the hands right here. And so just like in the Comic-Con video, we showed that we miscalculated the hands by a lot. And so we're right now in the process of rebuilding that.
So also we wanted to share that all these models, you can use like your everyday like cardboard boxes that you receive from deliveries. And so that's what we actually made these mini models out of. So we made these out of like Amazon cardboard boxes, for example. So just finding any material that you have at your home is perfect.
So I see a question that says, what tool do you use to cut the cardboard? And so we mainly use scissors. We use kitchen scissors. That's like what we found to be the best type. But as we've been going on in our journey of building, we're slowly starting to experiment with new types of materials to use and new types of tools. And so we actually recently got a laser cutter. And so we use that sometimes if we want to cut out like the templates whenever we're holding like workshops or things like that. And we also recently got electric scissors. And so this is really good because it's a lot easier to cut the cardboard with.
But any scissors you have at home should work. And especially with like Amazon cardboard boxes, those are perfect to use to build out of. And so you can just use scissors for that kind of thing. So do we have any like different kinds of cardboard? So for the bigger models behind us, we use industrial cardboard. So that's just to make it stronger. And we got this, as you saw in the video, from our grandpa's warehouse. And so my grandpa, he gave me the best gift I could ever ask for, which is giving me all his cardboard that he had. So that was what he gave me when he retired. And so now we have all these cardboard. We have stacks of it, and it's like taking over our house. And so, we have to keep on taking over more rooms in our house, which our parents definitely make us clean after ourselves. That's a big thing. And so here is like some of the industrial cardboard pieces we use.
And then also another type of cardboard we use is if you see on Groot in the background, you can't see him too well right now, but in the Comic-Con video, we talked about how we use paper cardboard. So it's not exactly like paper, but it's like a mix in between paper and cardboard, and it's like a very thin type. And we also actually use that to build baby Groot right here. And so as you can see, he's not made from like the traditional cardboard.
And then, like I mentioned before, we also use like Amazon cardboard boxes to make like these, the mini models right here. So these are perfect for people to be able to start building. And here's an ad. So we use the Amazon cardboard boxes that we get at home. So that's another way.
And I see another question says, what do you hope to study in college? So, I mean, I love doing this kind of stuff. So I guess sort of like the engineering type thing would be really awesome. But I guess like after college for like, I guess for a job almost, I've heard of this job. My dad actually told me about this. It's called Disney Imagineering. And so I guess that would always kind of be like my dream to kind of like get like an internship or something like that for Disney, which would be really awesome.
Yeah, we would love a Disney internship or any Marvel job. That would be awesome. And so also, are there any models that we would like to make in the future? So we're actually in the process of brainstorming a new project of ours. And so we're thinking of creating our own superhero. And so we're right now we're designing and trying to figure out how to create this own superhero from our imaginations.
Yeah, we're really excited about that because it's going to be a really cool and big project. So another question says, have any of your creations been requested for the Lucas Museum that will be opening? So I'm not sure because, I mean, I haven't really heard of the Lucas Museum. So I guess, no, our creations haven't been requested for that. But I guess if that ever comes up, that'd be really cool.
So we also wanted to take this time to showcase some of our other models that we haven't really shown other people yet. And so this is kind of like models that we used to make and just other mini models. So for example, like the helmets.
So we build a bunch of helmets. This is kind of like a smaller side project. So this is a Black Panther helmet right here. And what's cool about this is it's hollow, so I'm able to wear it and kind of have like cosplay and have fun. And so we build a bunch of helmets. We have a bunch of helmets all around the room. And these are really cool because you can have fun with them and put them on.
And so another model that we also made is the Stormbreaker. So I'm not sure if there's any like Marvel superhero fans. So this is a life-size Stormbreaker that we have. This was a really fun one to make and has all the details. We try to get every little detail on it.
And so I see another question. What are you creating right now? Or what are you creating right now? Can you show us? And so right now, I guess you could say we're working on like the Hulkbuster and we're finishing them off. But then like we mentioned before, how we're going to start creating the new superhero. And so you can kind of see like Hulkbuster in the back, and we're on the process of creating him again. We don't have like the hands that we're working on right now. That's in our craft room. But for the new superhero, we're just kind of like brainstorming ideas for that right now.
So we don't have a name for him yet. And so here's another model. So any people who like Guardians of the Galaxy. So this is a fun one that I got to experiment with magnets. So you can attach it, put it on and off. And the funny thing about this one is it doesn't fit my head anymore because I built this one in elementary school. So around middle school, elementary school. So it doesn't fit my head anymore. Maybe Bauer's, I'm not sure.
I don't see any more questions in the chat, but there are some questions that we do get asked a lot. And one of those is, what is our favorite superhero out of the models that we've built? And so, of course, my personal favorite would have to be either the Hulkbuster or the Baby Yoda that we created. So those are like some of my favorite. What's actually cool is my brother and I just finished watching the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. So if any of you guys have watched that, it was really cool. And so maybe if you guys watched that, it'd be awesome. And so besides that, I guess my favorite project would have to be the Black Manta right there. I guess partly it's because, I mean, I created that one, but also I just really think that all the detail on him is really awesome.
So for me, another one of my favorites is, of course, Baby Yoda. And I also like C-3PO because that's the one I was creating. And then, of course, like Hulkbuster, our big one. That was a really fun one. So one thing I wanted to mention is that in Baby Yoda, this is something we got to experiment with, like kind of a paper mache style. And so one thing that is really hard in cardboard building is creating like skin tight like suits and making all these difficult curves. So this is kind of like the first attempt at that with the Baby Yoda. And so we were able to have like kind of use a paper mache style to slowly create all of like his difficult like textures. And then another thing was we added like a foam right inside his body, so it's actually soft and squishy right here. So it feels more realistic.
And then another question says, how many hours a day do you work on the models? And so it depends a lot of times because, of course, my brother and I still have school. During the school year, it's a lot more difficult, but we always try to put in as much time as we can, especially like during the weekends when we have more free time. But especially now during the time of like COVID, we have a lot more time to start building. And especially now during winter break, because we're both on winter break now, we can start building. And so hours a day, it just ranges. Sometimes we work just like 30 minutes a day, but sometimes it can go up to like 5 hours a day we're working. And so it all just depends on how we're feeling that day and if we're wanting to build or not wanting to build.
Yeah, it definitely gets. We definitely enjoy also building these models right here. So here is the Captain America shield that I made. And so this one is just to show that we don't just build out of cardboard, but we also build out of like other materials. We always want to experiment with new things. So this one's actually made out of metal. So this one is a metal shield. So this is not cardboard. And we also use aluminum, and so it's definitely. And this we also just try to paint this one as well, so it looks more real. It's like a real movie prop. This is one of my old models right here.
And then another question says, do you have a name for your superhero yet? So we actually don't have a name yet. We're still trying to brainstorm. Right now, we're actually thinking of like what powers he might have, like what his origin story would be. And so if you guys have any suggestions, you guys could type that in the chat, and that'd be pretty cool. So there's another question that says, is that real cardboard? I'm assuming you were talking about the Captain America shield. Like my brother said, it was made out of metal. He used actually an old metal sled that we had lying around. And so another question that we get asked a lot is, have you thought about expanding your team? And so right now it's just my brother and I just doing all this stuff. But we have thought about expanding our team because some of this stuff, because we're doing a lot more things like the school curriculum. So yeah, we have been thinking about maybe including more people onto our team.
So yeah, so this is like the new school curriculum that's taking up a lot of time, but it's definitely worth it. And we hope to see it launched in like the 2021 school year.
And then another question that we get asked a lot is, how do you choose which models, both mini and large, you're going to build next? And so that one's mainly just, for the big models, it's mostly towards what our favorite superheroes are, or what the latest movie. So for example, the Aquaman movie had recently come out when I had built Black Manta right there. And then for the mini models, it's mostly just suggestions we get from like students and things like that.
Yep. So also, if you guys want to see any of the mini models up close again, just type that into the chat and we can show you right here. So another question is, have we ever considered creating a graphic novel to go with our new superhero? So this is, yeah, that's a great question. We haven't thought of that, but thanks for sharing that, because now we'll definitely be looking for that. And that'd be really cool to create like our own comic book. That'd be really fun.
And then another one of the most common questions we get asked is, what is the most difficult model? I'm assuming you guys can all guess that. It's, of course, the Hulkbuster in the back. It's taken us over a year to build, actually. That's with my brother and I working on it together. And so that definitely is the most difficult project. And like we showed you in our Comic-Con video, we haven't fully completed it, as we still have to work on the hands and the back. And then another question we get asked a lot is, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I haven't really thought much about what I want to be, because of course I'm still in 8th grade, and so I still have a while to think of that. But like I mentioned before, there was a job that my dad told me about, Disney Imagineering, and so that sounds really cool and kind of like what I love to do.
And then for me, I've always wanted to go into business and also to like create and be an entrepreneur. So I've always wanted to start my own business, and it's really cool. I get to start that with cardboard superheroes, and being able to design and sell, or not sell, but like just teach people how to build. So it's just really fun having like, I guess, your own like company to make.
And so if any of you guys kind of want to get into like what we do, like if you ever had like a passion for building, you thought you could maybe want to take on something like this, it can seem like intimidating, like looking at this, but like we showed you in our Comic-Con video, we always like started small. And so starting off with like paper is great. Like we build all these paper models. I used to build like these paper like ninja stars and things like that. My brother actually created like a paper Iron Man mask. And so if you guys ever want to like kind of like start doing what we do, you should always start small and progressively get better and better until you can kind of maybe build your own Hulkbuster in the future. And then another question we got asked is, have you gotten your friends to building too? So a lot of my friends have seen what some of these models. I'm not sure if any of them have gotten into building though, because I'm not sure if their interests lie there. But I mean, it would be awesome if my friends would also love building, because then we could share a hobby.
And we've actually also we've taught some of our friends how to build, like for example, like a Thor Hammer. They've asked us, and so we've taught them how to build. And another thing is like our friends will drop off their leftover cardboard boxes at our house, and so they'll just drop that off, and so we get to have endless supply pretty much.
And so if someone says Baby Yoda again, please, yeah, for sure, we can definitely show Baby Yoda again. We can show like a 360 view of him.
Oh, and Baby Groot too.
So there's Baby Yoda right here. And then another person says they wanted to see Baby Groot. The baby models are definitely the most popular ones. So here's Baby Groot.
So Baby Groot has like a tree-like texture to him, and so that was really fun to add. So one thing also is for the school curriculum that we're going to be implementing soon. We also aligned it with like the NGSS standards, and so these are and mystery science as well. So we've had the standards that we've aligned it with, and we're going to be attaching with that teachers' guides and student guides and student worksheets that they can get to start creating, as well as like presentations for teachers to use. So here's here's kind of like 2 pages of some of these like packets that you can get.
Yeah, and then the NGSS stands for the Next Generation Science Standards. And so I see in the chat says, can you do a Baby Yoda tutorial? So I guess we could. That would take a lot of time, because Baby Yoda was a very, very difficult model to build, only because skin type models are very difficult because of all the curves. And when building with cardboard, curves are definitely the hardest part about a model. And because Baby Yoda has like human features in a sense, where it's all like perfectly smooth and curved, it's a lot more difficult. I guess we could, but it would be really difficult for, I guess if you guys want to get started building, you would have to slowly, progressively get better and better. And then maybe we could teach you how to build your own Baby Yoda in the future.
But that's definitely a good idea. So here's Baby Yoda.
So if there's no other questions in the chat, I guess thank you so much for listening, and we had a lot of fun doing this.
And thank you so much to the Los Angeles Public Library for having us.